So welcome to Sensible Secondhand Classics. This is a 1989 Ford Sierra Sapphire 2 litre GLS. It's currently housed at the Great British Car Journey here in Derbyshire, where I am experiencing the drivedadscar.com section of the museum, and so far it's proving to be an awful lot of fun. So the Ford Sierra was launched in 1982 to not really universal acclaim. The Cortina, which had preceded it, had been made for 20 years, was actually still very popular at the end of its production run, and you could buy a Cortina brand new into 1984 because they had so many left over. The Sierra, but by contrast, was a bit of a funny design. It was a sort of aerodynamic hatchback, where the Cortina had been a very distinctly three-box saloon, and it took until 1987 for them to make a booted version of the car, which is this Sapphire version. Now, the engine options available for the Sierra Sapphire I will go over later, because there are an awful lot of them. I mean, loads. There's about 10. But just to say that when we do go over that, we don't talk about a certain type of engine on this channel, viewers. We don't talk about diesels because, yes, we don't. Just past the famous Asia Rockstar on the route that they have, a little private road here at the Great British Car Journey. Just put it up into third. This is the MT75 manual gearbox. The earlier Sierras with a manual would have had a Type 9 in them, possibly a different type, because some of them were 4-speed and Type 9's a 5-speed box. I always wanted to drive a Sierra. I don't know what it is about them. I mean, I've had a couple of people who I knew when I was young who owned them. One of them was one of my friends when I was at prep school. He was in the Navy. He was a Commodore, and he used to drive to work in his F registration Sierra 1.8 LX, which had done some ridiculous mileage by the time that I sometimes travelled in it in the mid-90s. The car developed horrific oil leaks, as well as terrible rust. I mean, the Sierras at the time, I'm not sure what was happening with them, but they weren't particularly well rust protected at that time, and the car just disintegrated in 7 years. It just basically died. I think it had done 203,000 miles though by that time, because he used to go around inspecting naval bases all over the place. So that's why the car had done such high mileage. Also, our next door neighbours had an early Sierra gear. I think it was an 83, I think it was, on an A. So we're just going to experience some slalom driving here. This car's got power steering, but I'm going to have to actually slow down and put it into first, because for some reason either turning circle in this is horrendous, or it's got loads and loads of lock to lock. I think it's a combination of the two. There's probably 4 turns lock to lock in this car. I'm just aware that the car does not like going in second gear at low speed. Paul, who's actually with me today, who's an instructor from Great British Car Journey, has said nobody likes this twin cam engine. People don't like it. And certainly Mr. Coleman from Rubbish Mechanic has also told me that he's owned many Sierras in his time, and he says this engine is not very good. Certainly the low down torque just doesn't seem to be there, which is a bit alarming really when you're trying to do low speed manoeuvres in this. The rest of the car, it feels kind of old-fashioned sort of thing. I don't know what it is. It's probably because it's on this rear-wheel drive platform, but it doesn't feel as modern to drive as a lot of the other cars I've driven about this sort of era. Certainly compared with the Mark III Cavalier. The Mark III Cavalier was on sale at exactly the same time as this Sierra in 1989. It does feel very old-fashioned. This kind of long throw gearbox system here, which has, it's a nice feel. I mean, it's not a bad thing to have you know, the gearbox right underneath where the gear lever is. You know, the Cavalier would have had a remote gear linkage. This doesn't. It's straight into the gearbox with the lever, but it just doesn't feel as easy to drive as the Cavalier would be. I mean, I don't like it. I mean, I think this is a great car, but it just feels a little bit different. That's all. It's funny with the Sierra. I mean, you know, in some ways it sort of got better as it went on. It had a very long production life, right way through till December 1992. So there are many ones of these still running around, registered in 1993. Yeah, once this engine is sort of warming up, which is taking a little while, and really the window has actually cleared the screen in the back, so that's pretty good. Then what we'll do in a second is just to go park up and we'll take a look at this car in more detail. But so far I'm quite enjoying it. The steering's quite positive anyway, that's one thing, apart from the sort of arm twirling that you have to do. In fact, once we've had a look at the car in more detail, why don't we have a look and see what my arm twirling is actually doing. Well, viewers, I've had my promotion at work, and here's the outside of my company car. 1989 Ford Sierra 2 litre GLS. This is a Sapphire. You can tell this by the grille in the middle of here. That was only on certain markets. Some of them didn't have the little grille, but we've got it in this country. GLS, red striping on the bumpers and headlamp wiper action and fog lamp action, and this amazing sort of gold colour. Not so typical of the era, I don't think. It's more, I would associate this with the sort of early 80s, but there we go. Got a sunroof as well, alloy wheels, boot spoiler, all terribly exciting. This is a very late pre-facelift Mark II Sierra. The engine in there, which is I think N8 or N9 it's called, this twin overhead cam unit. It's not a Pinto engine, that was on the earlier ones. That's about 110 horsepower in this car, I think. We're still on the carbs. So open up the boot, absolutely enormous, of course, so you can fit all your sort of rep samples in here. 1998cc, the earlier Pinto was a 1993cc engine. Yes, excellent, all the sort of bits and pieces that you'd need. The later Sierras had the smoke rear lights. Being at the Great British Car Journey, they actually have a later Sierra inside, which is a gear hatchback. The design of the car, actually, when it came out in '82, was very revolutionary for the time, and it put people off, which is one of the reasons why the Ford Orion was brought out in '83, I think it was, late '83, as a sort of you know, a more conventional car. This one, though, is customer demand Sapphire Saloon. Came out in about 1987 with the facelift, which is why it's called a Mark II Sierra, but a pre-facelift. Rear ashtray, brown and gold striped upholstery, and let's see if this is as comfortable as I remember these being. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's really comfortable. Wow. Now, when I was younger, a friend of mine's father had a hatchback Sierra about this age. It was an F registration with a 1.8 engine, 1.8 LX. That rusted away horrifically, so the fact they're actually letting me out in this car in this weather is extraordinary. Oh, it's a very nice armrest. And I remember even these little door locking knobs here, playing with these. Yes. It reminds me a lot of a Mark III Granada or Scorpio, depending on where you are and what trim level you had. And yeah, the underside of a Ford Granada Mark III is quite similar to Sierra, and it feels similar to this inside, but a bit more luxurious. We just get out of here, it's not too bad. Very, very much the typical family car for people in the 1980s, less than the Cavalier. Two-tone paint. This is the latest style of dash. We've got a little blinking thing in here, so we've probably got some kind of old alarm system in here. That looks like it's adjustable lumbar support. Just very careful. I put my secret mission documents and oh yes, oh, just like the old days of Ford, where the control for the lights is on the same side as the wipers, and so if you turn the wipers down, you're not careful, you might knock the lights off. Not a very sensible idea, viewers. And oh my gosh, it's got variable speed intermittent wipe. I have done well in my sales this month to get something like this. Wow. Original cassette player, blanking plate here. I think that would probably be for air conditioning, although I don't think many Sierras in our market had air conditioning. Little digital clock here. Fascia is angled towards the driver, a bit like a BMW of the era. I remember this dash so well. Very similar to the one that was in Mark III Fiesta, in the Mark IV Escort, and of course, yes, that hazard light switch, and all these little switches here, fog lamps, the fog lamps here, heated rear window, nice ventilation system, cigarette lighter, or as you call it now, a 12-volt socket. It's the MT75 gearbox. Earlier Sierras had a Type 9 gearbox in them. There's a manual valve, obviously automatic's available. If this was a gear, this would have 4 switches in a row here. I've put my mount in now, which is actually cassette storage. Just keep it out of the way so I don't lose it. I don't think my secret mission documents are going to fit in there. I don't think so, viewers. But we will try anyway, because we always do. And it's failed. I think on some of the like a gear, you might get a gear badge up there if you're lucky. The recording equipment in here is just here because you know, you can pay for a little package to be videoed driving up to 3 cars, although you have to pay separately for each car. Yeah, so I do like it in here, viewers. It's the seats a little bit on the kind of sort of a weird side in terms of the way it's sitting. I'd have to sort that out. But yes, I'm very, very fond of this already. I think it's time to take a look at this N8 or N9 double overhead cam engine. So there we are, viewers. Here is what was, when this car was new in 1989, a brand new engine. Ford double overhead cam engine. In this case, developing about 110 horsepower. Oh no, actually this is electronic fuel injection. It might have a little bit more. Interesting. So this will be, if I just remember, ooh, 125 horsepower. Oh, this thing's going to be fast, viewers. It's going to be quick. Wow. So, longitudinally mounted engine, rear wheel drive car, the Sierra. Gearbox is just there. Dipstick is just on the side there. This is a time when Ford was starting to colour code a lot of their service items. So all filler cap is yellow, windscreen washer fluid bottle is yellow, so is the coolant reservoir filler cap, and there we are. That's the brake fluid reservoir, I believe. So the servo is right in front of the driver. So I'm hoping the brakes in this are a bit more positive than they otherwise would be. See if this plate gives away where the car was made. Yeah, it's made in Cologne because it's in German. Sierras were made in other places like Belgium and also in Dagenham as well. Right, it's time for me to go for another drive. Right, viewers, got the wipers on because, well, it's a bit dark and rainy today. Let's put this Sierra through its paces through the cones. I'm going to go into first because otherwise I'm just not going to be able to do this. Right, here we go. Push-pull steering. Wow. Compared with the Mark 1 Astra that I've just driven, this car is much more difficult to drive at lower speed. Far more difficult, even with the power steering. It must be about 4 turns lock to lock. And wow, that was crazy. I do very much like it, though, viewers. It has this character to it, and although I don't think the engineering of this car is anything revolutionary, I mean, you just have to look at the Cortina and sort of look at this. I mean, they are a little bit different. The rear suspension's got nothing to do with the Cortina at all, but it's still McPherson struts up front. And I have to agree with Paul and famous Mr. Coleman Roach Mechanic. I'm not sure this is the best engine to drive in a Sierra. I think maybe the older Pinto would be better, or you know, you can maybe try in one of the CVHs if you really want to, you know, do your ears bleed or something like that. I don't know. This double overhead cam engine is just not producing the torque that I would have expected in a car like this. It certainly feels like it can go fast enough. I mean, I've got a 20 mile limit on the test route today because we're on private land. But on the road, I imagine you could do some serious acceleration in this, even though it's not the V6 or anything like that. And it's not the Cosworth, which has a lot more power than this. But you could probably easily get the back end out going around wet roundabouts in this with no problems at all. I mean, I'm not going to do that because this isn't my car, but it probably wouldn't be too difficult. The suspension's quite nice and compliant though. I do like that. Even over these sort of, you know, rough concrete surfaces, although my camera mount is shaking around like crazy, which is what it always does. And I think we'll capture on video as well. There we go, the Asia Rockstar that lives just here, as found on the iDriver Classic channel a little while ago. So yes, Ian Seabrook came here and he drove some cars, so did Steph, and now I drive some different ones. If you you know, like me to come and drive some more, then I will ask very nicely if I can come back. Right, I'm afraid I'm going to have to go and sum this up now, viewers. It's quite a hard car to sort of sum up, really, because there's a lot to talk about, but we'll do our best. So, viewers, let's have a look at some Ford Sierra Sapphire engines and trim levels. The basic engine was a 1.6 with a carburettor, 75 horsepower. That was supplemented by a 1.6 with fuel injection in 1991 with 80 horsepower. There was a 1.8 carb engine, I think that was the Pinto, with 90 horsepower, and then again supplemented by a 1.8 injection with 87 horsepower. I think that was based on the CVH engine from about 1991. Excuse me. Then a 2-litre Pinto engine in carb form. I think that was 105 horsepower, a fuel injection 115. This N8, N9 twin cam engine, 110 horsepower with a carb, and 125 with fuel injection like this. The catalytic converter, a version of this engine, was 120 horsepower. Then, of course, there was the fire-breathing RS Cosworth, and that developed between, I think, 205 and 220 horsepower. Other engines available in the Sierra in our market, we didn't get the 2-litre Cologne. 2.3 V6 is 90 horsepower, not an awful lot of horsepower, really. 2.8 V6 with these earlier cars, 150 horsepower, and then from 87 the 2.9 version of the Callaghan, about the same power output, 150 horsepower. Sierras were built in Argentina, Belgium, Germany, Republic of Ireland. There's actually an Irish-built Sierra in a film with Pierce Brosnan called Taffin from 1988, I think, about that. New Zealand, South Africa, and Venezuela. The Sierra was sold in the United States of America under the Mercor XR4 TI name, but had a 2.3 Pinto engine in it. The Sierra name wasn't used because General Motors already used that for their trucks. The trim levels available on the Sapphire were base, L, LX, GL, GLX, Gear, GLS like this one. Obviously the RS Cosworth, then some special editions, the Classic, the Quartz, the Fresco, the Azura. Mr. Coleman, Rubbish Mechanic, used to have an Azura, the Chasseur, and the one I would want the most of all, the 2000E. Very nice. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed for watching this episode of Sensible Secondhand Classics. Don't forget to like this video, to leave a comment below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. We've maybe have some more content from the Great British Car Journey coming again at some point. Yes, it remains for me just to say thank you to Jason and the team here for allowing me to drive a couple of cars today. I'm hoping to come back and do some more. If that's something you'd like to see, then please just let me know in the comment section below. Thank you.